What if you could live your life again, knowing exactly who would betray you? What if you had the power to change everything that went wrong? Today's story is about a woman who got that impossible chance and used it to rewrite her destiny. Picture this. You're lying on your deathbed, alone and forgotten. Your own children won't even visit you. They're too busy celebrating someone else's birthday. The woman who stole your husband, your life, your everything, she's the one they choose. But sometimes, the universe has other plans. Our story begins with a woman named Era, gasping for breath in an empty room. Her youngest son had just left with his wife, annoyed that his mother was pretending to be sick again. Every time Gwendolyn wants us to be there, Mom always causes trouble, he muttered as he walked away. Era closed her eyes, feeling her body burning with fever. Big tears streamed down her cheeks as she realized the truth. Maybe she really was dying. And maybe, that was for the best. Her mind drifted back to where it all began. She remembered the matchmaker who introduced her to Marcus. He was a platoon leader then, serious and upright. She was an art soldier, quiet and refined. It seemed like a perfect match. But that marriage became the beginning of a lifetime of sorrow. Marcus was too righteous for his own good. Every month, he'd give most of his salary to support his struggling subordinates. When Era begged him to keep some money for their family, he accused her of not caring enough about his men. A man who cares so much for his subordinates must be good. Era thought back then. She tried to tolerate his ways, even when she got pregnant and could barely afford to eat. Their arguments began when reality hit hard. On holidays, their table had nothing but rice and flour. Whenever someone complained to Marcus about their hardships, he'd give them money and come home empty-handed. Era's heart sank with disappointment every single time. She wanted a better life too. Was that so wrong? After their first child was born, Era had to fight for every penny. She watched her thin, small son cry with hunger while Marcus gave their money away to strangers. Maybe our marriage had no real love from the start, she realized. It was just a cold arrangement. Marcus stopped coming home, preferring to stay at the military base. His mother had to force him to return. Eventually, after several children, he seemed to understand how hard it was to raise them. He started leaving half his salary with Era each month. Life seemed to ease, until fate showed its cruelty. During a dangerous mission, Marcus's fellow platoon leader never returned. The man left behind a widow named Gwendolyn and 2 young children. Marcus felt responsible. He took it upon himself to care for this broken family. At first, Era felt sympathy for them. A woman with 2 children and no one to lean on. It was heartbreaking. But that sympathy died the day Marcus brought them home to live with them. 6 people living in 2 rooms. Era remembered. There was no space for anyone else. That was the first time Marcus ever hit her. His eyes were bloodshot with rage as he slapped her hard. Then he left with Gwendolyn, carrying their luggage and holding both children on his shoulders. They looked like a real family. Era whispered to herself. He never carried me even a single green onion. Never put my own child on his shoulder. Outside their home, Marcus had created a new family. The family he shared with Gwendolyn. He gave Era only a third of his monthly salary, handing the rest to the widow's family. People began to assume Gwendolyn was his real wife. Era was forgotten by everyone, even her own children. They preferred Gwendolyn, who made them new clothes and gave them treats. But they didn't know the truth. They didn't know Era was starving herself, drinking only cold water daily, arguing with the cafeteria just to get an extra steamed bun for her kids. Meanwhile, Gwendolyn always wore the cleanest, most presentable clothes. She spoke kindly of Era to everyone, earning praise for her generosity. But people forgot one important detail. Her clean clothes, the money in her hands, even the man standing beside her. It all should have belonged to Era. When Marcus was transferred to a new position, he took Gwendolyn's family with him. Era only learned about this a month after they left. By then, she no longer had tears to cry. She had to survive alone and raise the children. Years passed. Era painstakingly cared for Marcus's aging parents and struggled to feed her children. Then Marcus and Gwendolyn returned, looking like the perfect couple. In everyone's eyes, Gwendolyn was now the commander's wife. Era stood in the crowd, watching as Marcus barely glanced at her. He didn't even recognize her anymore. Gwendolyn noticed Era and her face tightened with awkwardness. She tried to pull away from Marcus's arm, but he held on tight. Her face flushed as she looked at Era with what seemed like apology. Everyone said they'd been devoted to each other for 10 years. Era remembered bitterly. When the children heard Marcus was back, they all ran to him. Marcus looked at their worn, ragged clothes and scolded Era harshly. Too stingy to spend a dime on the children, he said coldly. That's why my kids look like this. Then Marcus took all the children away. Era cried and begged them not to leave. But Gwendolyn shielded the children, saying Era might scare them. Era fell to her knees, pleading for them not to take her babies away. Marcus pushed her aside, brushing off his sleeve in disgust. "Don't come near her," he told the children. "She's dirty. You're no match for her." Even as Era lay dying, her children resented her for wasting their time. How laughable it all was. Era felt her body weakening, truly close to death. Life had been too bitter. She didn't want to live it again. She slipped into darkness. But then something miraculous happened. When Era opened her eyes again, there was pounding on the door. "Aura, get up. The commander is calling." Her body reacted before her mind did. She slipped into her neatly pressed uniform and opened the door. The other woman looked her up and down. "Why aren't you wearing a skirt? What a rare chance this is." Then it hit her like lightning. Today was the day the company commander was taking them to meet the soldiers. It was at tonight's gathering that she would meet Marcus for the first time. Era's face went pale instantly. "I'm not going. I'm not feeling well." Her friend Vivian frowned. "How come all of a sudden you're not feeling well?" But Era's pale face convinced her. Vivian was the only one who had ever advised Era not to marry Marcus. "A man like him is the worst kind of partner to live with," she had warned. "Whenever you argue, everyone will side with Marcus. His face alone seems to represent justice." Era had never believed it before. But now she did. This time she absolutely would not marry Marcus. But fate had other plans. The company commander grabbed Era's arm and pulled her up. "You have to go today. If you skip again, they'll start accusing you of stirring up class conflict." At the gathering, Era met Marcus again. But this time she knew exactly what kind of man he was. When their eyes met, she felt a mix of rage and fear. She wanted to strangle him on the spot. Her miserable life had been all because of him. Marcus was sensitive to hostile stares. When he looked into Era's eyes, he felt his chest tighten. This girl looked like she wanted to kill him. The commander stepped in front of Era's trembling form. Hora's running a high fever, but still insisting on participating. A soldier is a soldier, not afraid of hardship or exhaustion. The company leader nodded approvingly. "Good comrade. But since you're sick, just go rest. Marcus, see her home." Era stood frozen as Marcus approached. But this time, she was ready. She knew his tricks, his manipulations, his false righteousness. She turned to run but Marcus followed. Just as Era thought she might fall, someone else caught her. It was Julian, a carefree soldier with a teasing smile. "What's wrong? Looks like you threw yourself at me," he joked. Marcus frowned. "Comrade, please watch your words. Such cruel words shouldn't be said about an innocent girl." Julian pulled Era behind him protectively. "Who do you think you are?" Era quickly freed herself from both men and limped away. Her ankle was hurt, but she didn't care. She had to get away from Marcus. On her way back, she encountered Gwendolyn for the first time in this new life. The young woman with braids sneered at Era and shoved past her shoulder. Marcus's voice was cold as ice. "Apologize." Gwendolyn glared defiantly but eventually said a half-hearted sorry, before running off. Marcus watched her retreat with disgust. He despised unreasonable women like her. How ironic that in the future, this same woman would become the center of his world. Back in her room, Era made a decision. She would not repeat the mistakes of her past life. Even if it meant leaving the military, she would not marry Marcus. The next morning, Marcus was waiting downstairs with breakfast. "I don't know why, but every time I close my eyes, I see your face," he admitted. It made it impossible to fall asleep. Era looked at the lunchbox coldly. This was the first and last time Marcus would personally bring her a meal. In her past life, she had lain alone in the hospital giving birth, begging for food. Marcus had told her to endure, saying everyone suffered hardship in wartime. How could she be so delicate, he had asked. Meanwhile, he lined up early to deliver milk powder to another soldier's wife who was also giving birth. The irony was unbearable. "Thanks, Marcus, but I'm not hungry," Era said coldly. Marcus looked confused and hurt. "Era, have I offended you somehow?" "No, we don't even know each other." Marcus had never encountered such rejection before. He bowed deeply to her in apology, but Era stepped back, horrified. "I'm sorry, Era. I don't know if I offended you, but if I did, I apologize." Era shook her head repeatedly. "No, I just don't want to get married right now. I only want to dance." The rejection crushed Marcus, but it also set Era free. However, her troubles were far from over. The regiment commander called her in that evening, stern-faced and angry. "Era, how could you let a soldier bow to you? You must write a self-criticism and apologize formally to Marcus." Era was dumbfounded. He had done it himself, but she knew that once Marcus was involved, nothing good would come of it. At the formal apology ceremony, Era stood before Marcus and the assembled officers. She bowed deeply and read her self-criticism aloud. When finished, she handed back Marcus's lunchbox along with ration coupons. I shared the food with others. Here are coupons to make it up to you. I don't know why you bowed to me, but now I've returned the gesture twice. I'm truly sorry. The company commander's face was tight with disappointment. His plan to push them together as a couple was falling apart. Marcus looked at Era with deep sadness. I understand. You only nodded firmly. I only want to dance. But the commander wasn't giving up so easily. Since you have no feelings for Marcus, find someone you share interests with and marry quickly. The higher-ups are determined to pair couples together. The thought terrified Era. She knew they would force her into marriage one way or another. That night, she made a desperate decision. She submitted her discharge application. The commander held the letter in disbelief. Is marriage really that hard? I didn't force you to marry right away. Era's voice choked with emotion. I don't want to trouble you. I can't find the right person. I just don't want to marry. Then what do you want? I only have one request, Commander. I want to perform on stage one last time. In her past life, she had left the stage too abruptly. This time, she wanted a proper farewell. The commander agreed without hesitation. That evening, Era poured her entire soul into her final dance. She expressed all the pain and absurdity of her previous life, all her sorrow and hope. Like a dying swan, she collapsed to the floor at the end. For a moment, she thought she was really dead. But the thunderous applause brought her back to reality. Many people in the audience were standing. Soldiers had tears in their eyes. When you collapsed, I wanted to shoot anyone who bullied you, one soldier said honestly. Even Marcus was there, tears glistening in the corners of his eyes. At that moment, when Era collapsed, Marcus felt a pain so deep it was almost unbearable. But it was Julian who stepped forward first. He removed his own shoulder patch and handed it to Era with serious eyes. Aura, I like you. I hope we can get to know each other with marriage as a premise. I swear on this military patch that at home, your word is law. I will obey every command you give, as long as I'm not on a mission. The unexpected proposal threw Era off balance. She blurted out the words that would change everything. I don't want children. Children are better off not existing at all. The crowd was stunned. What kind of woman didn't want kids? But Julian surprised everyone. I need to think carefully about that issue. Era, can you wait a day? Era nodded, amazed by his response. Marcus tried to approach, but others blocked his way. Vivian turned on him with fury. Are you satisfied now? Era has had the worst luck meeting you. We're cultural soldiers, not as heroic as you. We don't shed blood on the battlefield, but we're human too. Do you even know how hard Era's life has been? Sold by her parents, nearly beaten to death. She only started living better after joining the troop. Why do you all treat her like this? Era felt like a bystander to her own past trauma. That chapter of her life was long buried, but now she realized something important. The reason she had married Marcus in her past life was because she wanted a family of her own. She was like a floating weed with no one to care for her. She had thought marriage meant protection, but it was all an empty hope. The next few days passed quietly as Era prepared to leave the military. She gave her unused belongings to her sisters, their eyes full of tears as they hugged goodbye. But then Marcus appeared again, breathing heavily as he grabbed her arm. I'm marrying you, don't leave. Era looked at him warily. Marcus, what do you want? He forced a small smile. I'm not a bad man, Era. Please don't treat me like your enemy. I like you really. From the first moment I saw you, I liked you. Then how do you plan to split your monthly salary? Era interrupted bluntly. Marcus looked confused but answered honestly. The commander plans to promote me to squad leader. With the extra allowance, it's 115. A few soldiers have especially difficult family situations. I give 20 to each. I keep the remaining 15 for you. The Era stared at him in disbelief. But I need the best face cream, the trendiest clothes. A new outfit every month, and I have to eat meat. 15 won't cut it. Marcus's serious face grew even sterner. You can use clam oil for face cream. Clothes that aren't torn can be worn again. As for meat, once a month is doable. Era burst out laughing, leaving Marcus completely baffled. I'm not marrying you. Everything I want, I can have on my own. My severance pay is enough for me to live freely for a year or two. But if I marry you, I'll have none of that. I'll have to wash your clothes, cook, clean, serve you, have your children. Marcus, tell me, what would I get out of marrying you? Marcus was speechless. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. Why would I marry you? Era continued, I'm not stupid. She turned and walked away, leaving Marcus stunned and confused. Julian didn't come to see her the next day. She wasn't surprised. Who would want to marry a woman who refused to have children? 3 days later, the commander called Era in privately, implying she was corrupting Marcus. His training had suffered. His usually flawless marksmanship was off. Once again, Era had to read a self-criticism aloud and bow to Marcus in apology. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I've already submitted my discharge application. I really can't have any contact with you." The company commander's face was dark with anger. He suggested they talk privately, but Era refused. She knew the dangers of being alone with Marcus. Rumors could destroy her reputation and force her into marriage. On the 5th day, when her discharge approval was nearly complete, something unexpected happened. Julian's voice came from behind her. "Wet." He limped in, clutching his injured backside, and dropped to his knees in front of her. "Era, you heartless woman. I was almost beaten to death for you. And now you're just leaving." And Era was genuinely scared and quickly stepped aside. "What happened to you?" Julian didn't answer directly. Instead he asked, "Does our deal still stand? No children, just marriage." "It stands. But I never said marriage. I only said I didn't want children." Julian waved his hands desperately. "I don't care. My parents have accepted that there won't be grandchildren. Now you have to marry me." The regiment commander hurried over, snatched the discharge application from Era, and tore it to shreds. "All right, I approve this marriage." Julian shakily pulled out a form already filled out with his details, waiting for Era to sign. "This form was filled out 6 months ago," the commander teased. "Julian, you've been scheming for a long time." Era looked down at the date. It was true. Julian covered his face in embarrassment. "That was love at first sight, but you said I was just full of sweet talk. You liked quiet and reserved types." "I don't like that anymore," Era said immediately. Julian's eyes lit up instantly. "So you like me now? I'm the #1 sweet talker." The commander chuckled. "No kids means you can keep dancing forever. This position is yours. You were born to dance." After much persuasion, Era finally filled out the form. Julian's smile made his eyes curve into crescents. "You're this happy?" Era asked. Julian nodded enthusiastically. "Very happy. I love seeing you shine on stage. Even if you marry me, I won't let you stop dancing. I'll take care of everything at home." And so Era's new life began. But her story with Marcus wasn't over yet. As Era and Julian prepared to leave for his parents' house, a figure rushed over. Marcus yanked Julian aside and grabbed Era's wrist, pulling her behind him. Julian let out a sharp cry of pain, blood seeping through his pants. Era shook off Marcus's hand and ran to Julian's side. "Are you okay?" Marcus frowned, pulling Era aside. "I didn't use any force." "He's faking it." "Era, has the marriage report already been filed?" "Yes," Era replied impatiently. Marcus looked shocked. "How could you be so impulsive? This concerns your whole life." Era sneered. In her past life, he had rushed to marry her within 5 days. "Wasn't that impulsive?" "I thought about it," Marcus said urgently. "You're right, I shouldn't neglect my own family because of others. From now on, all my allowances go to you. If you marry me, you only need to have 1 child. I have no bad habits, no scandals, I'm completely clean." Julian scoffed from behind them. "Who's clean?" "I'm clean too." Marcus shot him a displeased glance. "I'm talking to Era." Julian tugged at Era's shirt corner anxiously. "You promised me, you won't back out, right?" Era squeezed his hand and looked at Marcus. "If I marry him, I don't have to have a single child." Holding Julian's hand, she got into the car and looked back at Marcus one final time. "Marcus, don't get involved with any other women for now." Marcus's eyes brightened with hope. Era smiled faintly. "If you do, it's a curse. I've already calculated that next year you'll meet the person best suited for you." The car drove away, leaving Marcus standing alone in the dust. Inside the vehicle, Julian leaned close. "You know divination arts?" Era smiled lightly and shook her head. She knew exactly what would happen because she had lived it all before. At Julian's family compound, Era met his mother. The elegant woman in a dark blue dress embroidered with iris flowers looked Era up and down approvingly. "You're quite good looking. I didn't expect Julian to have such unique taste." Inside, Era presented Julian's mother with a silk scarf, dark green with golden edges. She quickly folded it into a rose and placed it on the woman's shoulders. Julian's mother's eyes lit up as she hurried to find a mirror, admiring herself from every angle. She took Era upstairs to show her clothes and ask which combinations looked better. The difference from her past life was like night and day. Marcus's mother had scolded Era for wasting money on such frivolous items. At dinner, Julian's mother wouldn't let Era lift a finger. She washed dishes with the housekeeper and even cut fruit for Era to enjoy. Era's memories of her first visit to Marcus's family came flooding back. His mother had put an apron on her and made her cook. After that, she wasn't allowed at the table. "Women should eat in the kitchen," Marcus's mother had said. Era had eaten alone in the cold kitchen while the family complained about the food. By the time she cleaned everything up, it was deep into the night. The contrast was overwhelming. Julian's mother sent Era home with guards and promised to visit the next day. But the good mood vanished when Era saw Marcus waiting outside her dormitory. "Every year, I've been an exemplary soldier with a flawless reputation," Marcus said, his voice filled with pain. "Why can't you see me?" Era found it utterly ridiculous and laughed out loud. "Marcus, you really are disgusting." His face stiffened, looking awful. "You've known all along I submitted discharge papers, right? But you said nothing. Yet when I decide to marry, you react like this. Admit it, you're selfish and petty. You wanted to force me to leave the army as punishment. And me marrying goes against your wishes, so you keep harassing me." Era pressed on without mercy. "At your core, all you want is obedience. You want a standout wife with a good reputation, standing on the moral high ground, wanting everything your way. Marcus, you're the truly scheming one." His expression darkened completely as Era pushed past him and walked away. The military wedding happened quickly. Once the paperwork was processed, Era and Julian were officially husband and wife. At the wedding banquet, the company commander praised them as a perfect match. Julian's parents nodded approvingly while Marcus's face remained stiff and mournful. Their wedding night was everything Era's first wedding night hadn't been. Julian was gentle, attentive, and caring. He had prepared beautiful pajamas for her and made sure she was comfortable in every way. The contrast with her past life was stark. On her wedding night with Marcus, he had been drunk and inconsiderate. She had spent the night in pain and discomfort while he slept soundly. The next morning, Julian's mother had breakfast waiting. Era didn't have to lift a finger. The housekeeper took care of everything. "Do you recognize me?" an elderly woman asked Era one day. Era shook her head, but she remembered. In her past life, she had rescued this woman from the snow. Shortly after, Marcus had been promoted. A year flew by in happiness and fulfillment. Era was so content that memories of her past life began to fade. Then news came that changed everything. Gwendolyn's husband had died in military action. Julian asked for money to donate, as all officers were expected to contribute. Era handed over the money willingly, but her heart was heavy. She knew what was coming next. Julian explained the situation later. Because of Marcus's misjudgment, the man had died. Feeling guilty, Marcus was taking Gwendolyn and her children into his home. "Since Marcus isn't married yet, no one's making a fuss," Julian said. Era was stunned. In her past life, Marcus had spent many sleepless nights over this guilt. Why hadn't he told her then? The story played out differently this time. Marcus's household became chaotic when his mother moved in to manage things. She treated Gwendolyn harshly, demanding she cook, clean, and serve her like a servant. One day, Era witnessed Gwendolyn storming out with her children, pointing at Marcus and shouting about how impossible the situation had become. "You give your entire salary to others," Gwendolyn accused. "Everyone else needs help, don't I? You said you'd take care of us. But is this how you take care of us?" Marcus broke out in cold sweat. "I earn over 100 a month. Why would I need you to support me?" Gwendolyn scoffed. "How can you say that? You think 15 is enough? Not to mention your mother keeps all of it. My son needs to go to school. I've been wearing the same clothes for a year." The argument escalated until higher-ups intervened. Private sponsorships were banned. Marcus's reputation was ruined, and his promotion prospects vanished. By the time Julian was transferred to a new position, Marcus was still a lowly platoon leader. Years passed. Era carried a small bag as Julian's mother anxiously urged her not to travel. "You just got pregnant. It's not stable yet." Era reassured them she was healthy and fine. As she prepared to leave, Marcus appeared one last time. "Era, may I speak with you for a moment?" Era nodded and walked with him a short distance away. "You're pregnant?" Marcus observed. Era nodded. "I want to have a child with Julian. Looks like you're living well." "I am." Marcus took a deep breath. "I had a dream where we were married. But due to endless misunderstandings, I ended up alone with Gwendolyn. Then you died, and I lost all value. Gwendolyn and her son rose to power while I was cast out. Our children lost their jobs, and we lived in misery." He studied Era's face carefully. "You should have married me, shouldn't you?" Era shook her head firmly. "No, Marcus. The moment I saw you, I hated you deep down. I despised you. If I had to marry you, I'd rather quit the military." Disappointment flickered across Marcus's face, but Era had heard enough. She turned away and walked straight to Julian. Julian's sharp gaze locked on Marcus. "He's insane," he muttered. "A few days ago, he was asking if I knew about floods coming next year. He's not a fortune teller. How would he know?" Era's heart skipped a beat. Marcus wasn't just confirming a dream. He was testing whether she had been reborn too. She glanced back, but Marcus was gone. Era exhaled deeply. She was doing well now, and she would never repeat the past. In the epilogue of this new life, Marcus continued earning honors and rising through the ranks. But Gwendolyn eventually turned on him, reporting his past misconduct. Every detail of their complicated relationship came to light. The day Marcus was imprisoned, Julian received another promotion. Era sat below, holding their twin sons as Julian's father personally pinned the new insignia on his uniform. The little boys clapped until their hands turned red, shouting, "Daddy is amazing." Hera smiled, looking at Julian with deep love and contentment. She loved him, but she didn't rely on him for everything. That was the healthiest kind of marriage. She had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's building a life so beautiful that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. Era had gotten her second chance, and this time, she chose happiness over revenge. She chose love over bitterness. She chose Julian over Marcus. And in doing so, she discovered that the best way to win is simply to live well. Thank you for joining me on Era's incredible journey of rebirth and redemption. Her story reminds us that sometimes life gives us a second chance to make better choices. If this tale of transformation moved you, please hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories of love, loss, and second chances. Until next time, remember that your past doesn't define your future, your choices do.